So far, you've seen examples of conditional processing that execute only a single statement when a condition is true. But you can also execute a group of statements as a unit by using do groups. To execute multiple statements, you need to use a do statement within an if-then-else statement. This set of statements functions like an if-then-else statement, but enables SAS to perform multiple actions based on one condition. The do statement, along with the other SAS statements it contains, is known as a do group. The general form of a do group in an if-then-else statement is shown here. It's very similar to the if-then-else statement you already know. At the end of the if-then statement, you specify the do statement. Then, the statements to execute if the condition is true. Notice that each do group must end with an end statement. Here, the else statement contains a second do group. Now you'll see an example of conditional processing using do groups. This example is adapted from Ron Cody's book, Learning SAS by Example.
Here you're creating a new temporary SAS dataset that contains information about 10 different students. You have their age, gender, midterm grade, a quiz grade, and their final exam grade. You want to read in values from this file and compute two new variables, age group and a grade, which is computed from the midterm and final exam grades. If age is less than or equal to 39, you want to set age group equal to younger group, and the grade to be computed as a weighted average of the midterm grade, weighted to 40%, and the final exam grade, weighted to 60%. If age is greater than 39, you want to set age group equal to older group and compute the grade as a simple average of the midterm and final exam grades. Here is one way to accomplish the programming task at hand. Notice that the first two if statements and the last two if statements test the same condition. It is much more efficient to test each condition once and then perform multiple operations if the condition is met. You can accomplish this with do groups. All the statements between the do and the end form a do group. When the if condition is true, all statements in the do group execute. A good way to think of this structure is, if condition is true, do the following statements until you reach the end. It is standard practice to indent all the statements in the do group as shown here. Let's run this and view the data portion of the Grades 2 dataset. It looks like our program worked, but upon closer inspection there's a couple of problems. What do you think is wrong with the Grades 2 report? Well, the first problem is that we're missing a grade value for observation 4. This is because observation 4 is missing a midterm exam grade. At least this problem is pretty obvious. The second and less obvious problem is that observations 2 and 8 are classified as younger age group, even though you don't know their actual age. Here's a question. Why did SAS categorize observations 2 and 8 as younger group? SAS categorized observations 2 and 8 as younger group because SAS considers missing to be the lowest numerical value by default. In this program, we add two SAS functions to address the previous problems. This is the missing function. The missing function returns a true value if its argument is a missing character or numeric value. The delete statement does two things. First, it prevents the current observation from being added to the output dataset. And second, it forces SAS to return to the top of the dataset during processing. Another valuable function to add to your SAS toolbox is the sum function, shown here. As you can see, you just type the keyword sum, followed by arguments that are separated by commas and within parentheses. The arguments can be numeric constants, numeric variables, or arithmetic expressions. But the arguments must have numeric values. Importantly, if an argument equals a missing value, then the result of the sum function is the sum of the non-missing values. In this case, you're assuming that the semester is over, so the value of midterm was missing because the midterm exam was never taken. Therefore, we want to calculate the grade from the sum of non-missing test grades divided by 2. Now, the observations with missing values are not included in the new data set, and the student who didn't take the midterm was assigned a final grade of 38. Ouch!
After watching this video, you should know how to write conditional processing statements that execute a single statement, or a group of statements using the do group syntax. Do groups are related to, but not the same as, do loops, which we will discuss in a future module.